Hello, it's Mr. Jewell from Pace with a story this time about serving others. I don't know about you, but sometimes I see something on the TV that makes me want to get up out of my seat and try and have a go at it myself. It might be something like baking a cake, or building a model, painting a picture, or having a go at a new hobby. I really liked sport as a child too, and so when I was your age, I would also sometimes head out into the garden wanting to try and score a goal just like the one I'd watched in the cup final, or hit the ball for six like my favourite cricketer. But that wasn't all. Whenever the Wimbledon tennis tournament was on telly, my brother and I used to set up a net in the back garden and relive the magical moments from the matches we'd watched, although we never quite reached the standard of the sports stars we saw. One Easter a few years ago, my family went to visit Wimbledon. On our tour, we sat on centre court and also saw the trophy cabinet holding the cups they compete for. I knew I was never going to make it as a trophy-holding tennis champion when I was younger, so I decided I wanted to be a ball boy instead. Do you know what I mean? They're the teenagers who run backwards and forwards collecting the tennis balls for the famous players and making sure they have them at hand whenever they need to serve the ball. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, that's because when they do their job well, you hardly notice them. Wimbledon will be happening again soon, so why don't you see if you can spot the boys and girls I mean? They often wear dark green shorts and t-shirts. Their job is all about doing something for someone else. They serve the tennis players by making it possible for them to serve the ball. Now in tennis, serving also means when you first hit the ball over the net for the other player to try and hit back. When I think back to my childhood tennis, I realise that I wasn't particularly good at it because I never learned to serve properly. Well, my Bible story today is about serving, not hitting a tennis ball, but doing things for others. And the person in the story is so good at serving, at doing things for others without attracting attention to herself, that we don't actually even know her name. Often when I tell you a story from the Bible, it's all about someone we've heard of before with a familiar name like Jesus or David or Moses or Mary, but not this girl, whose story is found in the Old Testament book of 2 Kings. A man called Naaman was commander of the king's army. He was a strong and successful soldier, but he became very unwell. Now his wife had a servant girl who had been captured from another land, but whose name the Bible doesn't tell us. Who knows, she may have had the same name as some of you, or something similar. The servant girl spoke to Naaman's wife and told her about a man of God in her kingdom who could help her husband get better. So Naaman asked the king if he could go and see this man to ask if he could help. The king said yes and sent a letter to the king of the other country asking for his help. When the king received the letter, he was very upset because he didn't know how to help. But a man of God called Elisha overheard and offered to help. Elisha told Naaman he must go and wash himself 7 times in the river Jordan to make him better. But at first Naaman was very annoyed. He thought he was so special that surely something more important and spectacular would be necessary to make him well. And anyway, what's so special about that old river compared to the rivers in his own land? Thankfully, Naaman's servants persuaded him not to be so proud and to do just as he'd been told. So he dipped himself in the river Jordan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and sure enough he was made completely well. He praised Elisha's God for his power. It had all started because an unknown, unnamed girl served in the best way she could. We don't even know the girl's name, but she served so well, doing something really special, helpful and kind for someone else. You know, maybe you and I will get the chance to do something similar this week, to serve others at school, at home, or in our community. And by the way, when we went to Wimbledon a few years ago, it reminded me of something else from my childhood. You see, the tennis tournament takes place near Wimbledon Common, Now, when I was your age, there was a really popular TV programme called The Wombles, about some furry creatures who were supposed to live there. They first appeared on TV when I was 7 years old, and they even released some songs that did really well in the charts. They had brilliant names like Bungo, Great Uncle Bulgaria, Madame Cholet, Tomsk, Wellington, Tobermory, and my favourite, Orinoco. Together they did something special. They spent most of their time clearing up litter. They covered as much of the common as they could, picking up things that people had dropped, and they always seemed to do it without anyone seeing them. They did something really kind and helpful and good for the environment without attracting attention to themselves. They served their community in a special and secret way. Hey, maybe we can follow their example and serve too. Can we find things to do that make our school or our community a better place, even if no one knows who's done it? I'm going to finish with a prayer. Please join with me or just sit quietly if you'd prefer. Dear God, thank you for the example of Naaman's servant who did her best to help others. Help us to follow her example and make a positive difference to those around us. Amen.